Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving right into the life of one of the most fascinating, complex figures in modern history. We're going to explore exactly how a young boy from Louisville, Kentucky, transformed not just into a heavyweight boxing champion, but literally into a transcendent 20th century global icon. The source material paints a really vivid picture of a man who was as polarizing as he was magnetic, and we're going to break down that entire incredible journey. To instantly establish why he's universally known as the greatest, just look at these staggering numbers. 61 total fights, 56 wins, 37 of those by knockout, and he was a three-time undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. I mean, those numbers are absolutely legendary, right? But the thing is, they only tell a fraction of the story. To truly understand this icon, we need to explore the dramatic three-act journey of his life. Okay, let's dive into this. We've organized his complex historical narrative into three chapters. First, the making of a champion, then draft resistance and exile, and finally, legendary rivalries and triumphs. Let's kick things off right away with Chapter 1, the making of a champion. So, this early part of his life, it was an absolute rocket ride. We're talking about a kid with dyslexia who really struggled with reading and writing in school, yet possessed this unparalleled physical genius. And it all started in 1954 over a stolen bicycle. A 12-year-old boy told a local police officer he was going to whoop the thief, and the officer wisely suggested he learn how to box first. Well, that single moment sparked a massive 100-win to 8-loss amateur record, which led straight to an Olympic gold medal in Rome in 1960. But the real shocker came in 1964. At just 22 years old, he stepped into the ring against the terrifying, heavily favored champion, Sonny Liston. Despite being a massive 8-1 underdog, nobody gave him a chance, he used his superior speed to force Liston to actually quit on his stool, claiming the heavyweight title in a historic upset. Right after that stunning victory over Liston, he rushed to the edge of the ring and shouted these immortal words to the press. "I am the greatest. I shook up the world. I'm the prettiest thing that ever lived." He was completely revolutionizing sports entertainment here. Inspired by a professional wrestler he'd met in Las Vegas named Gorgeous George, he realized that poetic, rhythmic trash talk would draw in massive crowds of people who either desperately wanted to see him win or, desperately wanted to see him lose. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive shift that happened right after that 1964 title victory. He publicly denounced his birth name, Cassius Clay, calling it a slave name. He announced his affiliation with the Nation of Islam and formally changed his name to Muhammad Ali. Now, this wasn't just some clever branding change. It was a profound, deeply personal reflection of his new religious beliefs and his evolving views on racial pride. Which brings us to our second chapter, Draft Resistance and Exile. Here, the lightning-fast pace of his athletic career came to a grinding halt. In 1966, Ali became eligible for the military draft during the Vietnam War, and according to the source material, this put him squarely at odds with the government. He declared himself a conscientious objector, stating that war was against the teachings of the Quran. He framed his ethical and religious opposition very clearly. "My enemy is the white people, not Viet Cong. You won't even stand up for me in America for my religious beliefs, and you want me to go somewhere and fight?" For him, the conflict overseas was a direct contradiction to the civil rights struggles happening right at home. The system's response to his defiance was swift and severe. We can break it down clearly. Step 1, he was reclassified to 1A, making him draft eligible. Step 2, in April 1967, he appeared at the induction center but refused 3 separate times to step forward when his name was called. Immediately, we see Step 3, he was arrested, athletic commissions suspended his boxing licenses, and he was stripped of his hard-earned heavyweight titles. This complete state of professional exile lasted until Step 4, a Supreme Court reversal in 1971. Let's look a little closer at those years in exile, because the backlash was incredibly intense. He was convicted of draft evasion, sentenced to 5 years in prison, and slapped with a huge fine. While out on bond, he was secretly monitored by the NSA under Project Minaret, and the FBI's COINTELPRO operations were digging into his records. But, completely stripped of his boxing income, Ali pivoted. He toured the country, speaking at colleges and universities. His steadfast anti-war stance and his immense personal sacrifice ended up energizing the civil rights movement. He inspired other prominent athletes to stand with him and ultimately cemented himself as a definitive icon for the entire 1960s counterculture. All right, let's ramp the energy back up as we enter Chapter 3, Legendary Rivalries and Triumphs. So, with his conviction overturned as his license finally restored, His return to the top, well, it wasn't a fairy tale. It was brutal. In 1971, he faced undefeated champion Joe Frazier at Madison Square Garden in what was universally billed as the fight of the century. After taking tremendous punishment, Ali was actually knocked down in the 15th round by a vicious left hook, and he suffered his very first professional defeat by unanimous decision. This devastating loss set up incredible narrative tension. I mean, everyone was asking, could the former champion, who was now older and a step slower, ever reclaim his throne? Now, what's really interesting here is how he adapted. To deal with his aging body, Ali developed a highly unorthodox strategy known as the rope-a-dope. Basically, it involved leaning heavily against the ropes, covering his head and body, and just inviting his opponent to strike him. The goal was to absorb the blows, which the flexible ring ropes actually helped cushion, until the attacker completely exhausted themselves. It was brilliant, but it completely defied all conventional boxing wisdom, which basically says, never let a hard hitter just strike you at will. And he tested this dangerous tactic on the biggest stage imaginable, the 1974 Rumble in the Jungle in Zaire against the terrifying, undefeated champion George Foreman. Just look at this number, 1 billion people. That is the estimated global television audience that tuned in to watch this fight. To put that into perspective, it was the world's most watched live television broadcast at the time, which just highlights the absolute, unmatched scale of Ali's cultural footprint. Going in, almost everyone thought Foreman was going to destroy Ali. Instead, Ali went straight to the ropes. He took Foreman's heaviest punches, covered up, and constantly whispered in his ear to mentally break him. Years later, George Foreman recalled the exact moment he realized he was in deep trouble, sharing this incredible ringside anecdote. "I hit him hard to the jaw, and he held me and whispered in my ear, 'That all you got, George?'" Ali's rope-a-dope physically exhausted Foreman, allowing Ali to knock him out in the 8th round and miraculously regain the title. Following that unbelievable comeback, Ali's later years were marked by grueling final triumphs and a really graceful transition. He fought Joe Frazier a 3rd time in the 1975 Thrilla in Manila, a fight so punishing Ali actually called it the closest thing to dying he knew. He eventually retired in 1981, and then in 1984, he was diagnosed with Parkinson syndrome. Yet, despite his declining physical health and the eventual loss of his speech, he didn't fade away. Not at all. He devoted the rest of his life to global philanthropy, his religion, and humanitarianism, remaining a beloved public figure worldwide until he passed away in 2016. So, what does this all mean? Based on the incredible source material we've explored today, I want to leave you with a profound final thought. I want to pose this question directly to you. Is Muhammad Ali's legacy defined more by his unprecedented physical victories in the ring, or by his unyielding ideological battles outside of it? It's a true testament to his dual impact on the 20th century that there's really no easy answer. Think about that as you reflect on the amazing journey we've explored today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the history that shapes our world.